At Winona, one of the southern gateways to Minnesota, where the Mississippi River peacefully wends its way, we are impressed by a recently constructed dam, one of many built by the United States government for flood control, as well as to guarantee sufficient depth of water for boats plying the Mississippi from New Orleans to Minneapolis, a distance of over 2,000 miles. This method of transportation, however, is a little slow for our tour of Minnesota, so we travel by automobile over one of the many fine roads for which the state is famous. And along the way, we view an endless panorama of farmlands, reminding us of the fact that over half of the population of Minnesota lives on farms devoted to agricultural production. Situated in the heart of this grain belt, like the poetic village of the plain, stands the town of Rochester, where the world-famous Mayo brothers have founded their medical clinics and hospitals. Build a mousetrap better than your neighbor, and the world will beat a footpath to your door, might well be said of the Mayo brothers, who began their humble medical career in Rochester and expanded through trying years until this massive clinic, recently completed, is necessary to accommodate the thousands of patients who come here annually from all parts of the world. At Hastings, the highway crosses the Mississippi on an unusual spiral bridge, an oddity said to be the only one of its kind in the world. Its shape was planned to bring the end of the bridge to the main street of Hastings, thereby avoiding the necessity of extending it into the town. On the banks of the Mississippi, near the city of St. Paul, we come upon the historic mounds that were constructed by the Indians, very much in the manner that the Egyptians built their pyramids along the banks of the Nile. Most of Minnesota's archaeological relics have come from the thousands of Indian mounds that dot the state. Strategically situated on the banks of the Mississippi stands the city of St. Paul, capital of Minnesota and second largest in the state. About 100 years ago, the first church building for the Christian settlers was dedicated to St. Paul, and from the church, the future capital city took its name. James J. Hill, the railroad magnate, came to St. Paul in 1856, and among the many institutions to which he contributed was the St. Paul Cathedral. One of the finest government buildings in the world is the state capitol at St. Paul, completed in 1904 and patterned from the Italian High Renaissance. The large central dome is a copy of St. Peter's in Rome, from which it varies only in minor detail. Here we meet the Honorable Harold E. Stassen, Governor of Minnesota. Born and reared on a small farm and elected at the age of 31 years by the largest majority in the history of the state, Governor Stassen, by his record in Minnesota, has become a man of national importance. The largest city in Minnesota is Minneapolis, one of the greatest flour milling centers in the United States. Aside from being the grain bin of the nation, Minneapolis is famous for its lakes and parks and the outdoor sports provided by them, there being 1 park acre for every 92 of its people. The bathing beaches in the parks are unique in that they are blankets of green lawn. Minnesota has been called the land of 10,000 lakes. In reality, it has more than 11,000, and most of them provide a haven for aquatic sports, which attract vacationists from all parts of the United States and Canada. With thousands of well-stocked lakes to fish in, it is no wonder that Minnesota has become a fisherman's paradise. Here we behold the catch of an average afternoon during the fishing season. After the necessary scraping and cleaning, a marvelous transition takes place. And oh boy, the aroma of freshly caught fish frying in butter or bacon fat over an open fire in the wilderness is enough to revive the most jaded appetites. And the taste of this simple food in such a setting is a delight to the dullest of palates. If it's not too hot. Truly, this is the end of a perfect day. The world's largest open-pit iron mine at Hibbing is also the center of Uncle Sam's iron ore industry. From this Grand Canyon of Minnesota, more material has already been removed than was necessary in the construction of the Panama Canal. Formerly, the town rested on this site, but the value of iron ore vied with the comforts of home sweet home until the houses were finally removed to accommodate the ever-widening pit. Most of the iron ore is shipped out of the state by way of Duluth, the world's greatest inland water port, second in total tonnage only to the Port of New York, and this with an average navigation season limited to 8 months in the year. Duluth, one of Minnesota's 3 most important cities, is situated on Lake Superior, the largest body of fresh water in the world, and it forms an interesting contrast with another settlement on the extreme northern shore of the lake, known as Grand Portage, where this old fort commemorates the memory of the early traders who landed here and established a gateway to the famous Northwest Passage. The Indians who first traded with the white men at Grand Portage were known as Chippewas, and a few of their descendants still live in the vicinity of the fort. The Chippewa Indians are featured in Longfellow's poem of Hiawatha, and here is an Indian maiden who might easily pass for the poet's description of Minnehaha. Hi there, who's this? Why, he's the heap big little chief of the Chippewas, who greets us with a salute that looks like an eye rub, although it's really meant as a gesture of welcome. At Itasca State Park, among the white birches for which Minnesota is noted, we come across a herd of buffaloes, representing a species of American animal life that is rapidly becoming extinct. At Bemidji, the grotesque figures of Paul Bunyan and Babe, his blue ox, symbolize the fantastic yarns that have been woven around these mythical characters. Here at Lake Itasca, 1,475 feet above the ocean, the mighty Mississippi begins to flow on its winding way, 2,552 miles to the Gulf of Mexico. Lake Itasca, source of the Mississippi and pride of Minnesota. As it is with the great oaks that grow from tiny acorns, so it is with the great rivers, including the Father of Waters, which begins as a tiny stream in the state of Minnesota and flows like an artery of life through the heart of a great nation.